family. As you saw in the last video, I ended it. If I had put both parts of that video, would have been about an hour something long, and we all know y'all got the attention span of a gerbil with ADHD. So I went ahead and decided to cut it in half. This one has some pretty useful information in it for if you decide to do the swap yourself. So make sure you watch the video all the way through, and if you glean any useful information from it, make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, let me know what you think, if there's any additional questions or anything you think I might have left out. So yeah, go ahead and check this out, and hit that share button, leave it in any groups you might be a part of, and maybe you could help somebody else out. So tune into the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment. Yeah. All right, so what I'm working on now is the trans cooler thermostat, and what I gotta do is I want to mount this to the frame here. I went and got a made this, had this welded together, and then I spray painted it so it won't rust, and I want to mount it about here. As you can see, I got the 45 degree bends here, and then the hoses are going to come out straight, wrap around up under here, and then go into the fender liner where the cooler is mounted. So as we get further into the build, you'll see where the cooler is going to be mounted at, but this is basically where I wanted it. So now I have to I'm gonna take the bracket off of here, mark where I'm going to drill at, and drill into the frame there, and then I'm gonna have to go on the other side and probably remove some stuff so that I could put a bolt through that backside and get it firmly fixed to the frame here. Alright, you can see where the hole comes out on the other side. It's a little bit of an issue, I guess, with that being so close to that drainage hole there, or whatever that is. So I'm gonna use a step drill and see how far I can get in there and make it big enough to see. I gotta be able to get an 11 millimeter to fit the bolt and the nut through there. So I can check back. Alright, so the end result of my cutting and grinding and everything else is hopefully this fits in here and doesn't interact with anything that I don't want it to. As you can see, part of the mount down here where the fuel lines come through, I cut that so that it won't interfere with the lines. I might have to grind that down or smooth it out or something. I don't want the lines, once I get the lines strung through there, see where it sits at. If you leave it too long, it might rub through the line or something, so I might have to figure out something with that. But I won't be able to actually plumb the lines up until I get the transmission back in, which you can see it is not. So yep, stay tuned and you will see what happens. And that's what it looks like on that side. And I had to drill a hole over here about that size to get the bolt to go in there. Alright, so I'm gonna leave that like that until we get ready to put the engine back in, and then I'll probably take that out because I don't want the engine accidentally falling into it. But you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe so that you can see where all of this stuff goes, and if I blow the car up or take over the world. Alright, for this part, gotta go inside the car, gotta take the shifter out in the middle and remove the parking cable and run the wires from the bottom, the wiring harness. As you can see here in the box, I got the plug and play harness you can get a pinouts and make your own harness, but I'm not that gangster out here, so I went ahead and broke down and spent the extra $500 for the plug and play harness. So basically this plugs into the OEM side harness, and then this goes into the mechatronics. So let's get cracking on this here. As you can see, got my shifter here. This is from an F10 chassis, and then I got the mounting plate. Picked that up from Can TCU, I believe, also. And you know, let's get to work on it. All right, as you can see, I got the bolts out. There's one that to get the shifter out. 3 bolts, one here and 2 up here. There's a rubber gasket around it, and as you can see, there are some rubber tabs right there, and the other one's right here. And you're going to pull those up and out, and you need to get the shifting cable out too. So, all right, once you get all of that stuff out the way, you got your base plate. Take that. Comes with screws and stuff to hold it down. So what you want to do is set it down in here and line up the holes so you can screw it down. Assuming these are the screws to hold it in place. Let me get the torque bit for it. Second one and the last. All right. that in place, you can set your shifter in there. Several different screws to hold that. And once you get all that screwed in place, then you want to go up under the car and start working on the wiring harness. Alright, once you're done with everything up top, you got to come down to the bottom and put the wiring harness in. So basically this is the OEM wire and it plugs into the new wiring harness. This will go into the transmission. This has to go up through the hole where the parking cable was, and you just push that all the way up through there. You're gonna want this to be up as high as possible so that it transmission doesn't crush it. Let's see if I can get the camera angle. You want that to be up high as possible so that the transmission doesn't crush it, and this has to swing around here so that it can plug into the transmission down here. Now, I draped that over the evap line. You're gonna have a bunch of extra cord for the transmission, so I just kind of looped it up and tucked it back up under here. Hopefully I can still get the top on there and close it. I might have to push it down a little bit further in there so that I can put the top back on when I get ready to do that. But basically that's how that's going in. As you can see, it comes through here. One of the wires in there has to plug in to the back of the shifter. I already got that wired up and ready to go. And then the rest of it comes over here, and you got your two other wires for the OBD, and then the last wire you'll have to wire up the CAN TCU. Alright, got the mounting plate on there, torque, damn I can't talk, torque the bolts down. The larger bolts, there's no, I can't seem to find a specific torque specification for them, so I just torqued them down all down to 40 Newton meters, the larger bolts, and then the smaller ones, I did those to 20 Newton meters. So I'm about ready to try and slide the transmission on there. I'm not gonna let y'all see me struggle like that trying to put it on here, because I already had it together when I was trying to test fit the starter over there. But you know, once you get those bolts on there, put the dowels in, and so they can locate on the transmission there. And so shit, let me get to it. Alright, did a test fit to make sure the starter had enough space, and as you can see, there's plenty of clearance in there. So now to take it back apart, throw the differential in there, and then bolt it together for real. Only thing I hadn't quite figured out is the bolt there in the back, the other starter bolt. Normally on your 6 HP, you bolt in here through the back. So I guess when I take it apart, I'll figure that out, or I don't know. Shouldn't be that hard to figure out, but yep, got plenty of space. Alright, problem solving time. The issue I had was the starter, as you know, goes in here, and you have two bolts that go into the starter. Originally you had these two bolts. Smaller one goes in down here, and on the 6 HP you have this longer bolt that goes through the bell housing and bolts in to the starter from the back side. Well, when you put the plate on here, as you can see, since the 8 HP, the starter's in a completely different place. Instead of being at the bottom, we had to, anyway. The starter has been replaced as far as the transmission is concerned up top, and there's no place for the bolt to go through there. There is a bolt hole on the adapter plate, but it's inside of the bell housing now that the transmission's on there, and you'd be a complete dumbass if you bolted it up under inside the bell housing. God forbid your starter goes out, you'd have to take your whole engine apart, transmission apart, change your starter out. And BMWs are already engineeringly annoying to deal with, so imagine having to take your transmission off to change out your starter. So the problem is, if you try and go through this side, and see if I can get in there and let you see it, where that golden bolt is. If you try and bolt this in this direction, you'll run into this part of the bolt and it'll stop and it won't go all the way through. And this bolt is, even if it was fully threaded, it'd be too long. You'd probably be running into the flywheel. And so I had to figure out, I don't know why Dami Works didn't send something to fix that problem. They should have added an extra bolt. But what I did is I went to the hardware store and got a M10-1.5 50 millimeter. You could probably get away with a 40 millimeter, I don't know, but I just wanted to make sure there was enough thread, and the body has to be fully threaded to make sure that it goes all the way through and engages the mounting plate on the other side. Now, I guess alternatively, if you can't find anything like that, you could probably drill out the threaded side on the starter and use a bolt that well, I think I went to Home Depot, and they had bolts that were long enough, but this part of it wasn't threaded, so I would have ran into the same issue of not being able to thread all the way through. So you could probably just drill through here and make sure it's a smooth bore, and then you'd be able to bolt it all the way through, because there's no threading on the block in there, that's smooth all the way through. So, but I just went up to Advance Auto specifically and got that M10-1.5, and I got it in a 50 millimeter, although like I said, you could probably get away with a 40, and that pretty much solves that problem. But as you can see here, I got my torque converter. This is out of an 8 HP 45. If you watch my other video, you know the reason why I use this one. If you use the one from the 8 HP, you have to modify it. With the 8 HP 45, you don't have to modify it. It should bolt directly on to the 335 flywheel. So when you're putting that in, you really want to make sure you get the proper amount of clunks when you put the TC back in. You should hear about 3, maybe even 4 clunks to let you know that it's fully seated. So let me see if I can put that in there without getting fluid everywhere. There goes the fluid, and exactly what I want to do.
work it back and forth to make sure that it seats completely in the transmission. If it's not completely seated in there, you'll have to take your whole car back apart to make sure it goes all the way in. And should be something in there like that. All right, so I believe on the instructions they tell you to use some blue Loctite on the trans mounting bolts. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to torque them to the larger bolts. I'm going to torque them to 50 Newton meters, and the smaller bolts, I'm thinking 30, since they don't give any specific numbers. It's not like OEM or whatever, where you're I believe OEM bolts, it's like 60 Newton meters, I think. So just make sure blue Loctite, and then make sure you torque everything down so that you have even distribution of force. Alright, videos kind of difficult to make because of the limited amount of room, but as you can see, transfer case and everything is back in, fits in place like stock. That was the main thing I was worried about because of the spacer throwing off the spacing and things, but as it appears, even the drive shaft, the front drive shaft, goes back in. And I haven't bolted the main drive shaft back in place yet, but as you can see, it fits, lines up with the mounting plate and everything. So got everything back in. Guess if you saw on the first video that I got the wrong trans pan, so I think I'm ordering that today, and it'll probably be here like in the middle of the week, so I'll throw that on, because that other one, the profile would have been like all the way down, like it sat lower than the oil pan, which would have been bad news if I trying to go over like speed bumps or something like that. As you can see, my exhaust is already taking enough abuse going over shit, so imagine my trans pan getting beat the hell out. But yep, everything's, all of the hard shit's back in, got the exhaust back together and back in. So yeah, so far everything's seems like everything is a success so far. Last thing to do is to hook up all the CAN TCU stuff, and then I gotta wait on Nexus to give me my shit so I can get the engine wired up and ready to go. Alright, well, that's the end of this video. Still got a lot of stuff to do. As you see, I've been working on some things. Yeah, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and stay tuned. Still got some stuff to do. It's pretty much the end of, I guess, the Crazy 8 build, kind of, sort of. Only thing really left as far as the transmission is concerned is hooking up the CAN TCU, which kind of, that comes with the instructions on that. But I'll probably still film it. And I gotta figure out how to hook up paddle shifters for the car. So I'm having a couple of kind of a mental block with that. But I'm gonna get on that. I'm gonna try and film it so you guys can get some use out of it, so you can move through it smoothly, unlike me. So stay tuned. Bring your friends in here, tell them to subscribe, and Hopefully we can get on the road in the near future. Hopefully before Jesus returns. So I love y'all. Y'all be safe out there. Keep on breaking.
You know something is moving purpose. Look.